Hello. Okay, I know I'm a couple minutes early. I wanted to test everything out. Can you let me know if you can hear me? Hopefully everything is working. But yeah, we're gonna get started pretty soon and talk about this poison heart. So super excited. And a big thank you to everybody joining us. It does look like there's a little bit of a delay going on, so hopefully that won't be too much of an issue. I'll be looking over as I'm trying to set everything up, but yeah, let me know if the audio is okay or if there's any issues, and then we can get started. All right, I guess I will get started. Hopefully you guys can hear me. So we're going to be talking about this poison heart. The first half of the live show is just going to be an overview, non-spoilery, and then I will let you guys know when we get into the spoilers, because there is some stuff that I would like to talk about for sure. I do want to say a big thank you to everybody who's participating in the P.O.C. book club. This is the first book of the club, and I'm so glad it was this one because, like, some good stuff. Good stuff going on here. But yeah, and everybody who's been hanging out in the Discord and kind of talking about the book, I don't know, it just made me really happy that I'm doing this. Hopefully this kind of continues and we can keep doing this with future books. For those of you who don't know, the next two books that we're going to be doing for the P.O.C. book club is The Dating Plan, which is February's book, and we will talk about later in March. And then March's book is Fat Chance Charlie Vega. So pretty excited to get into these and kind of see what they are about. I've also, since we're waiting for a few more people to trickle in, so I figured this would be a good time to just kind of talk about the P.O.C. Books Club before we get into today's book. But I did kind of pick some future possible books that will happen in the next couple of months. So, hello, hi Faithfulness. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, let me know if there's any audio problems. Hopefully everything's good. But yeah, so I'm hoping to maybe squeeze in Velvet Was the Night by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. Not 100% sure these aren't set in stone. Possibly Liberty. I think this is more of a contemporary, and I'm not the best of contemporary if there's not romances, so I don't know. And then The Death of Vivek Oji, we're definitely going to do this at some point because a bunch of people did recommend this. So I'm not sure what month, but I think we're going to do that maybe in April or something. I don't know. I would love to hear what you guys think for that. If you are like, yeah, I like those books, or what if we try something else? Because those ones aren't set in stone. These ones are. But yeah, now that I got that out of the way, I think we can kind of get into it. I will admit I'm a little bit nervous because it's been a while since I've done a live show, and I don't have a co-host for this. I might try and do that for some future ones, but admittedly there's a ton to talk about. So I think we're gonna be okay in terms of talking about this book. So first off, for those of you who are already here, I'd love to know if you've actually read this yet, or if you're in the process. If you are waiting until later, like, just let me know. where you're kind of at on that. Like I said, we're going to start without any spoilers in the beginning, and then I'll let you know when we get into spoiler territory. So for those who don't know, this is a first in a series fantasy book about, let's see, how do we say her name? I think it's Briseus? It's supposed to be kind of based off of mythology. And she actually is an adopted child. So, oh, thank you. I don't know how to set up mods, but that might be something useful in the future. So thank you so much for offering to help with that. But yeah, so Briseus. It's funny because earlier when I was like prepping to talk about this, I kept saying her name and I was like, I got this, no problem. And now that I'm like live and trying to say it, I am butchering her name so much. But basically she has a magical power that allows her to kind of deal with plants, either make them grow or kind of just like interact with them and things like that. And she's been hiding it basically for most of her life. So anytime she's around plants, they tend to just kind of flourish and get attracted to her. And it tends to be a little bit noticeable. So she's, tries to hide all of that. And so she's in New York, I think Brooklyn. Briseus. Yes, that sounds right. Briseus. Thank you. But yeah, so I think they're in Brooklyn originally, and her adoptive parents are, they run a flower shop or a little like gardening shop. And yeah, we're kind of introduced to her that way. Obviously, she enjoys doing that because she has some connection with plants, but then at the same time, she's trying to hide herself, and she ends up getting basically a realtor comes, not a realtor, but like someone comes and goes like, hey, someone from your previous life, your original family has passed away and you've inherited this property. And it kind of leads to a lot of interesting stuff of her kind of trying to understand, her adoptive, well, not her adoptive, but her biological family and how that connects to her magic. And then also, there's like secrets behind this actual house and her family and all of this stuff, and she's trying to uncover it along like with her actual adoptive parents. Now, something that I absolutely adored is her adoptive parents. So she has Mo, she refers to them as Mo and Mom, and they are both her mothers. And so Mo is just short for mother. And I thought that was like really cute and really sweet. I really liked that representation personally. But yeah, the kind of queer rep in general I thought was nice because we have her parents is like a lesbian relationship, and then she herself I believe is bisexual because she mentioned having boyfriends previously, and then has like a female love interest. So I was all like, oh, this is nice. I really like the representation that we have going on here. I do have a couple of issues with the book, but overall, I loved it. So I guess that's a good question to ask people. What were your ratings if you ended up finishing it? What did you think of it? Did you give it a high rating? Did you give it a low rating? I was, for a good chunk of it, was all like, this is my favorite book ever. And then I did kind of hit a spot which kind of made that falter a little bit, but in the end I kind of was still like, no, I love this was amazing. So I don't think I've officially put in my ratings into like Cawpile yet, so I don't know what my official rating is, but I think it's probably a high 4-star. Oh, you thought you thought Mo was her grandmother in the beginning? Yeah. I get that. Admittedly, I thought Mo was just like a friend at first, like a friend of the family or, like something like that. And then, yeah, when they got lovey-dovey, I was like, oh, okay. And then later, I think she actually mentions that Mo was short for mother. And she was like, both of them are my mom. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a sweet way to kind of go about it. Okay, so we've got a 4 out of 5 stars. Yep. Yeah, no, okay. So I'm glad I'm not the only one who's like really, really, really enjoying the book. Okay, so what else can we talk about before we get into spoiler territory? Because like there's part of me that really wants to just like dive in, but I also want to have a little bit of a just kind of like regular conversation about the book in a non-spoiler light for people who haven't read it and are interested and want to know like a little bit more. I do personally, so I'm someone who's like really interested in history in general. So I friggin' loved the idea of her finding that house, or not finding, but like inheriting that house and finding stuff about it. So like learning about it along the way. I think that's just like a really fun trope. And that's something for me in general that I adore. So it's definitely a plus for me. I think that does add a bias on my end. Oh, you don't mind the spoiler? Okay. Chapter 26. Oh, gonna be finishing it this weekend. Oh, nice. Yay for 3-day weekends. I hope everybody is enjoying the long weekend who actually has it. So that was halfway through the book when she explained Mo. Okay, yeah. I know it wasn't right off the bat that she was all like, yeah, Mo stands for mother. But I don't really think it's a spoiler, so hopefully that's not an issue. Okay, yeah. So based off of Discord, it seemed like everybody was really enjoying the book. I will say I do apologize for picking a book that is the first in a series. I did not, especially one that like isn't complete yet. I think in the future I'll try if I do that again. Although I might on accident, because this technically was an accident. But if I do that again, I'm going to try to limit it to books where the remaining series are already mostly available, if not completely available, so that if people are like, I like this and I want to continue it, we don't have to wait until like August for the next book or something like that. Oh my God, I cannot wait. I cannot wait until the next book comes out. Yes, and I totally agree with you. I love that there's no Black trauma in this book. It's very nice having a Black-focused fantasy novel that is just about fantasy, like a Black character in the fantasy. I also love with the history part of that I was talking about earlier, that her family obviously also is Black and has this history, has this wealth, this large house and all of this, and has this connection to mythology, and that made me happy. Like, because typically because of how things actually worked, especially in America, like as a Black person, we don't tend to have positive Black history. So having something where, although there was, like issues with the family, which I guess we could talk about, well, not with the family, but that happened with the family, that we could talk about later. It wasn't like the regular Black trauma that we're used to. It was just kind of like a fantasy stuff where you're like, oh, you're uncovering these things and whatever. Like, you could just enjoy the character and the fantasy. Forgive me for not finishing in time. Okay, no, that's fine. Don't worry. It's hard to read for one when I read investigations all day, 5 days a week for your job. Really? That's really exciting. Although I can imagine it being tiring. I know this is off topic. I know as an illustrator, the 9-to-5 job that I have, I'm currently a project manager, but I started off as a, production artist, so I used to make the art for the games that we do, and I remember back in the day how much of a struggle it was working 9 to 5 illustrating and then coming home and trying to work on like Love Teacup Kisses and personal art stuff after. I just like did not have the mental bandwidth to do that. So I get how working a 9 to 5 where you're reading all the time and then coming home to like read for pleasure can be difficult. So I definitely enjoy that I switched more into a managerial role so that I have the bandwidth to work on personal art. But yeah, bracing for the trauma and was so glad it never came. Yes, I know how that is. I will say I have read, like I feel like I've read some books recently that haven't been Black trauma focused, and it's just always a breath of fresh air, especially because, and like to some degree, like I prefer that, but I also do appreciate books that actually talk about the trauma that we have in general, because like obviously like you don't want to ignore it like it's a thing that actually happens, but like when you're like, I just want a feel-good fantasy that shows me and like that represents me or people like me, yeah, it's definitely a pleasure when you can get that. But then there's also ones where it'll be, because I actually ended up reading something recently, I think it was like Escaping Exodus, and it's like sci-fi fantasy, and although it's not technically talking about like Black trauma or anything, it has a lot of these like parallels that it does that was a little bit difficult for me to do. Still a good book though, but that was hard. Okay, yeah, so it sounds like several of us were waiting for like the Black trauma to happen, but it didn't. So yeah, definitely a pleasure. I definitely appreciate that in this book. It was, I think in general for me, it was just like super feel good. I loved that we had the plants as some sort of like magical. Also, tell me that, like, what did you think about her connection with the plant, specifically the ones like and this is early on, like obviously it like expands as the book goes on, but in the beginning, you know, we're introduced to her, you know that she attracts plants to some way, and then she has her own, I almost want to say pet plants, but that's not necessarily the case. But when you learn about the pets that she has in her room, which I think is like chapter 1, chapter 2, I loved that it was almost like they were like pets, like as someone, and I mean like shame because my plants are like sad, as you can see back there. But like as somebody who likes plants and wants them to thrive and grow, the idea of them like reacting in a, I can't think of the word, but you know, emotion-filled way like a pet or a person would, I thought was just like such a cute touch, and just like made me really, really into it. The ending was brutal. I will say, we'll get into the ending a little bit later, but yes, the ending had me messed up. I was all like, wait, no. No. Lots and lots of thoughts on that front for sure. Okay, yeah. What else? I thought the plant connection was so cool and could really see this as a movie or a TV show in the future. Yes, I would love to see that, because there's also like so much visually that you can do with that. And I feel like people connect with plants because, you know, like it's, I don't know, like a lot of people have plants, or, you know, you're around nature even if you're not a plant person or you don't have a green thumb like me. My poor plant babies are all dying, but like like it's something that everybody like sees and relates to some degree. So like visually it's something that a lot of people can connect with. And then it also has like if you think of like poison ivy and stuff, like it's visually something that has been in media and has done very well. And I like the idea that this is very different from poison ivy, but has like all of these really cool like things that can happen. Like I'm also just interested to see how it develops further in the next book. I don't want to know how many books are going to be in this series though. Like I really hope it's not going to be a long one. Because like I really want to, like, I want to know what happens, but I don't want to be waiting forever to like get through everything, because I feel fairly faithful to this series currently. Like I loved it so much, but then at the same time, when it's finally done, I'm probably going to be like, wait, no, I'm not ready for it to end, you know? At times I thought her parents were too lenient, making her go off in a limo with some of the, yeah, I don't know. That one's hard for me. Okay, you're right. Especially after all of the incidents. I don't know. It's funny because they kind of showed the parents as being both really like cautious and careful. Like they were kind of just all like, oh no, like don't, almost like they were like holding on a little bit too tight. And then at the same time, they were kind of like, oh yeah, like go out and do the things. And it's hard for me because I personally, as a kid, grew up with parents that were very lenient. Like they allowed me to do quite a lot. It was helpful that I was a really good kid in general. So like just because I had the freedom didn't mean I actually did a lot. And that's probably why they were so like, yeah, it's fine. Like we trust you. But I will say, even though to some degree it was kind of all like, are you sure you'd be okay with that? One thing that gripes me about YA novels is that usually the kids are not allowed to do things that they should do just because they're kids, and the parents are just all like, I'm gonna be strict for no reason. So even though this may have leaned a little bit more in the opposite way to the point of it being like, is that believable? It also wasn't as annoying to me as when they're like, oh yeah, you know, like you can't leave the house even though you're doing these like really important things or whatever. But also YAs are kind of unbelievable in the fact that, you know, like somebody who is beholden to their parent is like going out and trying to save the world. So it's like, I guess that's another reason why they're like hard for me to get into. I would never, I don't care how old my child is. I don't know. I mean, like, if you met the person and you thought that they were kind of all like, hey, they seem like a decent like person, and then they're like, oh, they come from money and they pick up your kid or your friend or whatever in a limo, like, I don't know if I'd be too worried about it. But there are several things that like I definitely would be somebody who would be like, I need your information. Like, where are you going? Where are you? Because that was another thing about my mom, is even though she was all like, yeah, it's cool if you go and do those things, she was always all like, but I need to know exactly where you are, where you're at, who you're with, and all of that information. And if I know that, then you can do whatever. And I was like, okay, that's more what I'm used to, I guess. Okay, so I don't know how long we're going to do the live stream, but I think it's a good time to start switching into some of the a little more spoilery bits. I'll try and do it kind of beginning to the end, so we're not going to talk about the end right off the bat, but yeah, we might at this point, if you don't want any spoilers, I guess, move forward, and I'll let you know, I guess, before I start the end section at least. But yeah, so, okay, let me look at my notes. So I ended up taking several notes, and I will say I was a little bit, so right off the bat in like chapter 2, Briseis ends up saying something about how when she was younger, she was dared to eat these berries that ended up being poison. She had 5, her friend had 6, and her friend ended up getting really sick and hospitalized, and she didn't. And then in that, she talks about how she ends up, she's had several instances with like poison ivy and, you know, like a couple of things, and every time she feels real cold but gets through it. This is in like chapter 2. She doesn't end up doing the cutting of the water, whatchamacallit, until chapter 3 or whatever, when Mo scares her and she like thinks she's gonna die. And although I still felt like it made sense that she would think she was gonna die, I was also super confused why the chapter before she mentioned that she had this thing, and then she doesn't mention it again when it was relevant. Like, I felt like all of a sudden she forgot that she's had instances where she's dealt with poison things and was fine. Like, is that just me, or is it like I didn't really mind it in the grand scheme of things, because I think even if you've, ate poison berries and were okay with it, and or dealt with poison ivy and were okay with it, if you were dealing with the most deadly plant ever, you would still think you were gonna die. But I just felt like it should have been mentioned, since she had just mentioned it. Hemlock, yes, water hemlock, when she could have died. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it was surprising to me how both instance that, and I think also the poison ivy later on, she's just surprised. Like, she's as if like this has never happened before, but it's happened multiple times. You would think that even if she was surprised, she would like still be putting two and two together, be like, oh, I know before I've dealt with these berries, but like this is different. There's no way I can survive this. Like, you would think she would say something, and for some reason that stuck out to me. Yeah, but those things were easy to be okay. Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, I feel like still acknowledging it and being all like, yeah, like poison ivy, like even with those, like this is nothing compared to a water hemlock. Like this, I'm for sure gonna die. Like, it made sense that she was gonna be afraid to die in that instance. And I also thought it was kind of sweet how she was all like, Mo, I love you. Like, she wanted to just like let her parents know that she loved them and that it wasn't their fault. Like, she was like so prepared to die, which is sad, obviously, but like it was also kind of sweet because of just like her reaction was just that of compassion. She was all like, I'm scared, this is gonna happen, but like I don't have much time, so let me like say goodbye to my loved ones. Like, that was such like a mature thing to do. I don't know if most people would be that way or how realistic that was, but part of me appreciated it regardless. The other thing that I have written down was just like the queer factor. I thought it was really nice that there was that representation in a book that's like so positive and fantasy focused. Like, I don't know, it's just, you don't see as much as I would like. Although I feel like a lot of the fantasies that I'm reading recently that are kind of like that are actually fairly queer or have queer. So maybe that's not new, but it's new to me. I think Brie was still lying to herself at the time, even when they were obvious that she was different. Okay, that is a good point. I don't think so. This is new to her and still unbelievable. So she's shocked at what she can do, especially since she doesn't know. Well, okay, that's what I mean. I agree that she wouldn't think that she can handle that. Like, I get that she thought that she would die. What I'm saying is I'm surprised that she acted like it never happened before after just telling us as the reader that it had happened before many times. So I just kind of wish she had mentioned it, like that she had been like, yeah, I know this happened before, but it doesn't make, like, just to kind of explain why she's still in doubt instead of just acting like this is the first time it happened. But I think you guys are probably right. I may be looking into it more than I needed to. It just stood out for me for some reason. Yes, the hemlock was a drop, but the poison ivy was exposed to a bigger part of her body. I did get in that instance that she may have thought like, oh, well, something's going to happen for the poison ivy. But I don't know. Granted, when I was double checking today to write down some of these notes, I didn't read the poison ivy part over again. So I don't actually remember if she mentioned the hemlock one and, like as a comparison, because that's kind of what I was looking for, was her to just kind of be like, yeah, I know this happened before, but like, there's no way, there's no way that I'd be able to survive, a plant as deadly as this. Like, I should be dead. But instead it just seemed like she glossed over. But again, thinking too much into it, I think, because like for the most part, I still agreed with how she responded. I think it would also be ridiculous, even if she was right, to automatically assume that she would survive all of these things because she had one instance of her surviving. So, I'm not mad that she was scared. I do think that was believable. Now, one thing that I did notice, and I want to know what you guys thought, her friends. So the original friends that she had. Obviously, they were kind of like crappy and not really accepting of her and her abilities. But is it just me? But did it seem like they were just kind of thrown in there to be the bad guys and they were like really one-dimensional? I kind of wanted more from them. I was all like, I don't care about them. We've kind of got an info dumpy thing about them. They're there and then they're just like gone. They're not really part of the story anymore. And I think it's unfair for me to kind of say this because this is the first book in a series and it's possible that they might pop up in the future. But like when I came across them again this morning, I was all like, oh yeah, I forgot about those guys. They were just the crappy friends that she had in like Brooklyn who didn't want to hang out with her. I didn't like them, obviously, but as was intended. But I was interested if anybody else was like expecting more of them, kind of like I was. Okay, let me see and make sure that I'm not missing anything because I think the chat that I have over here is slower than the chat that I have over here. But yeah, so that is definitely kind of how I felt for that. And for those of you who are just joining, we're getting into some of the spoilery bits, but we're trying to go in order, sort of. So if you've read part of it, I'm not going to spoil the end right off the bat. Bump those OG friends, let them be the bad guys. I mean, fair. Like, I think they did have a purpose. Like, the purpose was just to showcase that her life in Brooklyn wasn't, I'm saying Brooklyn as if that's for sure it, and I could totally be wrong. But that her, life in the city wasn't healthy for her as somebody with this magical powers, because the contrast, right, was that like in the city she's suppressing her abilities, she's hiding from her friends, she's pretending to be somebody she's not, and then when she goes to this little tiny town, I guess it's not necessarily tiny, but the small town, she's able to kind of open up and learn about herself and be honest, which does lead into another thing, which I think that was the setup for what's his name? Carter. For Carter. Nope, they were just to drive through so she doesn't have a safe space to let go or someone to confide in. Yeah. I think that is it, so that it was easier for her to let go of her past. And then also I think it was to help give a reason for her to so quickly confide in Carter, who I was all like, I do not know why you're telling him all of this stuff. And it's funny. It is funny because I know if you guys like watch my reading vlogs and hear some of the things that annoy me about certain books, I hate when people keep secrets and lie for no good reason. Like, I am not a fan of it. It gets on my nerves. So I appreciate that, Briseis was trying to not do that and have an open connection and not do the same thing she did before. But I could not understand why she told him as much stuff as she did so quickly. Like, she barely knew this kid. Brooklyn Queens, whatever, that rent was high as heck. You're telling me, okay, well, I can't remember how big it was. I'm not gonna lie. California rent here is really expensive. It is not that different from rent in California. So is bad. And I was all like, dang, but I think the thing that got me more than the rent itself was the fact that it doubled. Like, that was crazy. Like, having one expectation and having your rent double. If my rent doubled, I'd be homeless. Like, not gonna lie, I'd be homeless. That's like, I struggle already with my rent. But yeah. Okay. What was the other thing? Okay. Actually, I don't know. I think I may have lost my train of thought. I guess that's the one thing that would be beneficial if I had a co-host, is that they could keep me on track. My bad, guys. Oh, okay. So what I was saying, no, I think I said that already, that I'm not a big fan of books where a big part of the plot is keeping secrets from people. But man, I was just all like, dude, there's nothing really tying this kid that you just met to like your magical abilities. So like, it's cool that he accepts you and all. And I think she shouldn't have to like necessarily hide who she is. Like, I appreciate that she found a place that she can be herself, but she also still has to be careful. And we aren't wrong. But I don't know. I don't know. It's funny because that is a trope that I hate. And yet I am still like, well, you got to be cautious. And then it's all like, but if I was in that situation, would I be? I guess it's such a big secret that like, it's something that's so close to somebody's safety that you would think that she'd be a little bit more careful. Like, especially after coming from the city and being so careful there, you would think some of that would trickle over, even if she's trying to be more open and things about who she is. Yeah, why did she bring him to the poison part of the garden? That one made no sense to me. Like, it made no sense because even with accepting him into the group, it was also really, really risky for him. Like, you're like, hey, you're my friend. I care about you. This is an area that you will die in. How about we risk your life so I can show you this thing that's not necessary for me to show you? Like, no. Like, no. I got, what was her name? Marie or Mari or Marie. Except I trust Marie as far as she could throw me. Yeah, I understood that a little bit more, especially because she was kind of entwined with everything, right? Like, she also had a thing with her. P.O.C. as in person of character, person of color. But yeah. But yeah, so I definitely will say that I liked Marie quicker, like earlier on. I don't know. I mean, like, she was also kind of creepy too, but like when you found out more about her, like, I liked that she gave to get, you know, like, she gave information, she gave some, you know, of that. She proved her friendship and worth for things. But that's not fully true for Carter. Like, Carter was just kind of just like a person who was there, who was learning all of these things without really giving much about himself. So I was definitely more suspicious of him. Although I did like kind of like the idea, like I liked that he was kind of just like the shy kid who was accepting and open, like right off the bat. I did appreciate that. And back to kind of less spoilery things, but other parts about it. I loved, and this goes with just like the house itself, I loved that the house had this like whole like apothecary thing going on, and I thought it was kind of cool that was kind of part of the family and part of her learning things and a way for her to meet people. I kind of wish it was maybe a little bit more of the story. Like, I feel like it started getting intertwined into things, and then it kind of like quickly went over to like different plot points. And I think it would have been nice if we had a little bit more of that, like interacting with the townspeople and like learning about things through the apothecary and her doing stuff with it instead of just like prepping for it, because we got just like a smidge of that, and I thought it was cool. And then also like the grandma scene after the poison ivy, when she kind of makes the salve for her mom. I thought like that was another nice way to include the apothecary in the learning and kind of show Briseis darn it, I was doing good. But kind of show the main character's natural skills when it comes to all of that stuff. So yeah. that was enjoyable. And I just wanted a little bit more of that, even though like the grandma obviously wasn't her natural grandma. Oops, sorry, got a notification. But she was still, it seemed like it was still kind of part of her adoptive family's line to kind of have some of these like whimsical, magical things that they do. They definitely seem to practice in witchcraft a little bit. So they would do like spells and, you know, do home remedies and things like that. I was expecting the apothecary to sort of wake up or come alive when she walked into it. Oh, that would have been so cool. Yeah, that's like a really cool point. I feel like they kind of did that with the garden a little bit, right? Because like as she got closer to it, it actually like opened up to her. But it would have also been cool if the apothecary itself did it as well. Or even if the whole apothecary didn't do it, but as she like touched jars with the different like plants, they kind of did that a little bit. That could be cool. Yeah, I feel I feel like I might need to do a little bit more research on some streaming things just so that I can help manage things a little bit more. Let's see. Okay, I might be able, okay, if anything bad happens, I might be able to adjust some stuff, but hopefully we'll be good. So, yeah, let's, I guess, move on. Okay, yeah. So the next spoiler, this is a little bit further on into the book, and it's around Marie or Mari. So I really liked her, and I was absolutely adoring the book, like loving it. I was like, this is going to be a 5-star book if it continues the way that it goes. And then I found out Mari's secret, and it kind of turned me off a little bit because I was like rooting for the little like relationship. I was super here for it. Like I was just so happy. I actually don't know how to, oh, yes, I do. Thank you. Okay, I did it. I added you as a mod. I loved Lucifer. He was hilarious. Yes. Okay, yeah, that's true. I totally forgot about him. I didn't get to that part in my note-taking, checking for later. I loved their relationship. So, okay, let me rephrase this. I loved Mari, and I loved her background story, and I loved her relationship with like the Lucifer character. I thought that was absolutely like adorable, funny, and fantastic. What I didn't like though was that she was a love interest when I found out about her, and that is simply because it just felt kind of creepy to me. If like from her perspective to think like, hey, I'm old enough to be your grandma, great grandma, and I'm interested in you romantically. I don't know. But that was the only thing that kind of threw me off. It was not cute anymore. Exactly. Oh, hi, welcome to the stream. Hello, everybody. Rayan? Hopefully I'm saying that right. You remember me from 2016 with the pink hair? Yeah. I used to do very different colors back then. Thank you for joining. Biggle Bacon, welcome! Yes. We are in the spoiler part of the live show. So if you guys haven't read This Poison Heart, we're getting into some spoiler territory. We haven't gotten to the end yet. I'm trying to kind of slowly, because I know some people have read part of the book but haven't finished it. I'm trying not to be too spoilery, but it's a little bit difficult once we get past this point. I might, for future live streams, see if I can, I don't know, like make a list of which topics to do. So it could be like, oh, these are the topics I should cover in the first half so that it's not spoilery, and these are the ones that I should do after. I was doing notes this morning so that I could like recheck everything and like refresh my mind in memory. But yeah, I didn't separate it as much as I wanted, and because I wanted to make sure that I got the actual live stream up in time, so I was like playing around with Streamlabs and stuff, so didn't have as much time to do stuff as I wanted to. Exactly, Bree still wanted to be with her even after finding out, like, girl. Right? To be honest, though, I don't mind so much, like, Bree's side of it. I minded more Mari's side of it, because it seemed like she was interested in Bree. It's much easier than trying to say her full name. I forgot that was, like, a nickname of hers. But I get, because, like, when you're young, like, you can, I don't know, romanticize that idea, because, you know, like, I know when I was younger, the ideas of like vampires was really cool, and I was like, oh yeah, blah blah blah, I'm gonna have like my vampire heartthrob. I know, cringe, but like, I get, as when you're young, it going in that direction, and you like having a crush on somebody who's like older or not thinking about the implications, but the idea of having a life, like living a long life and being a grown adult and having an attraction to somebody who's younger is just weird. Like, that is my least favorite. It's the only thing that like made me not give this a 5 stars. Like, I saw that, I almost was all like, no, I cannot. Like, I was really not into it. But then fortunately I continued. I was like, I still really like this story. Like, and I get it. I get it's a thing. It's a trope. Like, people do this with vampires all the time. She's not a vampire, but like, that's the comparison that's like widely accepted. So I do get it. So I'm like just trying to ignore that piece of information, but it did bother me. That's also because like I'm also a grown adult myself. So I just find that really weird. I was against Bella and Edward, by the way. See, fair. I wasn't, because I was a kid. As an adult, not a fan. But yeah, love is love. Age ain't nothing but a number. No. Oh my god. But yes, that literally was the thing that bothered me the most, which sucked because I loved pretty much everything else about this. I do think there were maybe some plot holes with how like some things kind of happen, like especially when you actually get to the end, a lot happens at the end, and some of it's all like, really, but not to the point where I was all like, no, that's unbelievable or upsetting. It was just kind of a lot where I'm all like, maybe I should reread through this and see like if that really fits the way that I think it does. But that part bothered me. I am really excited to see how it goes in the future, like the next book. I'm still so mad that we have to wait. But yeah, like I do want to see more of, you know, is it like a family, like Lucifer, why can I not think of what they do? Morticians. He's not just the mortician though. He's also does the actual examinations and stuff. I want to know more about him and, you know, like Mari, along with the actual, I don't know what their last name is, but like Bree's biological families, like all of their relationship and how they kind of connect together. Exactly. I was like, you're practically poison ivy and you did nothing, really. Yes. we're gonna get to some things in a moment, which I guess actually it's a good time. Let me see if I had any other notes that I wanted to go over before we get to the end. I don't have a crazy amount to say about the end because I didn't get a chance to kind of like reread through stuff, so I feel like it's unfair for me to go too deep into it. because like I was just like, wait, that and that and that and that, but I do also have stuff to say. So I guess for like the last 15 minutes here, we can switch into the ending of the book. So funeral director, mortician, medical examiner. Yes, that is what I want to know more about, that relationship, because it sounded like he was part of a family that was upholding this secret. So he was somehow connected to Bree's family. And I want to know more. I hope we learn more about that in like the future books, because I thought that was fascinating. I loved the rivalry between him and Mari. Like, I thought that was one, adorable, and also just interesting. I did like everything about the book, including like those backstories and stuff. It was just that romance I am not here for. It's just real weird to me. Okay, so ending spoilers alert. We're getting into it. So I feel okay. I feel like the book was a little bit kind of like slow, and then we kind of got to the end and it just felt like fast paced, like a lot of stuff happened, and I was like caught off guard. Oh, sorry. I switched the way that my hair goes over, and then I'm reversed in my little video, so it's hard to see. But yeah, and then at the very end, it just kind of like shotguns through all of these things that were happening, which I think was kind of successful, right? Because we're setting up the tone, we're learning about some things, and then, you know, we want all of this crazy stuff to get you excited and interested in finding out what the next book is about. So like, I feel like Kaylin Bayron, God, I'm probably butchering her name, but the author, I feel like she did a really good job making me want to know what happens next. But we got so much information at the end, and I was like a little confused. Like, first, what was her name? Miss Redman, the fake name that whoever was using, comes up. She's all beaten up, so it seems like she just got, you know, messed up, and is, you know, demanding all of these things, is trying to get Bree to, you know, give her stuff. She's like, I want the house back. I don't know. It just came out of left field. I'm assuming, and like, I want to know what you guys think. I'm assuming she got beat up by plants. Like, she was trying to go, and like, same with the Alec Morris guy in the very beginning, who like attacks Bree when she's out in the back and the plants kind of fight him. I was assuming that something similar happened to Miss Redmond, and she was like getting impatient or something, and that's why she was beat up. Because at first I was all like, is she doing this because somebody's like blackmailing her? Like, that's what I thought until everything was kind of revealed at the end. And then also the whole thing with like Carter, right? Like, it seemed like Carter kind of started to build a friendship with Bree, but still decided like to go ahead with being kind of like crappy. Like, I don't know, like so much. And it's funny because part of me like doesn't really want to say all of the spoilers, because like it's some intense stuff, but at the same time, like, man, like a lot was happening. It was sus after the theater didn't trust Carter after that. You know, I don't know, like, I just felt like he was useless after the theater. Like, I was all like, I don't know, did I miss something there? Like, I didn't see how, like, I didn't connect right off the bat that he was connected to that. Like, finding out later, I was kind of like, he was like, he seemed so useless. And I mean, like, I guess that's why it made it soft or whatever. It was confirmed when they met Lucifer. Oh really? Now I need to like reread that part. Like, I feel like I may have like just missed some stuff. I will say I felt sus about him just in general. Like, not so much that I thought he was like connected in some, well, maybe that's not true, because I didn't know what the ending was, but like, I didn't trust him for some reason. I definitely want to get more of her books. Her writing style was easy to visualize in my head, and the amount of characters to keep up was manageable. I agree. I do agree. Oh yay! It looks like I got a subscriber. Yay! Thank you. Welcome. This is a cute thing. I'm using a new streaming thing. I'm doing Streamlabs, and it looks like they do that automatically. I wish there was a way that I could highlight comments. I was actually going to try and use a different streaming thing for this, and since I had set up the live stream through YouTube, I couldn't use the other one. You had to do it through that. And I was like, okay, well, let's try something else. So this is where I'm at. But yeah, the ending. So like, I was really confused with the whole thing about Cersei, right? Like Cersei disappears a year beforehand, has absolutely nothing, like what, why? And I mean, like, I get, like, a lot of the questions that I have about the ending, I imagine we're gonna learn in the next book or whatever. Oh yeah, okay, that's a good point. When the sheriff asked him if he's new to town and he said that he grew up there, that was sus. That was sus. Also, when she was asking about like how long he's been working at the shop for like years, but the bookstore was new, that was also sus. So there was a lot of things that were like super sus about him, but I didn't necessarily think they were as intense as they actually ended up being. I guess I just like was not expecting the end to go buck wild, like buck freaking wild. Hot, I don't know if this is like a hot take or whatnot, and like this is like the big spoiler thing, and I'm still trying to say it not spoilery, but like I do not agree with Bree's final motivation. Like at the end, it's all like she's like, oh, now I want to find these things so I can, you know, like resurrect. And I'm like, no, just let it be. Let it. And I know that's terrible and that's easy for me to say because I am not the person who's in the situation that she was that makes her want to do that. But at the same time, I'm all like, why can I can only see trouble happening if you do that. Like, it's wrong what happened in that situation. And I get wanting to be like, yeah, I gotta change things and bring the person back and do all of this stuff. Like, I get that. But I'm also just like, I don't know, maybe it's because I've seen so many movies before. My brain just goes like, there's no way that you can do that without problems happening, like without there being an issue. Oh, when Bree told Lucifer that Cersei sent her notes, he was confused, and then Carter started shouting at him. That's a good point. I forgot that Carter cut him off while they were hanging out with him. Like, I just forgot about that part. That was true. That was sus. That was super sus. I remember that. I was all like, that, why is he trying to hide something? And then you find out why. But I don't get why Cersei disappeared and didn't say anything and didn't notice that the house was being like, I don't know. It just didn't make sense to me. I think she's being used to bring back Medea's son. I don't know what you're talking about. My bad. But yeah, I do agree that a lot of these were like, he did have a lot of sus things and it made sense, but it's still, even at the end, like, he's warning her. It seemed like he like cared, and the fact that he went so far as to do what he did in like the final scene, like with the mom. No. I was all like, whoa, that's a bit much. Like, that's, I also wanted, I don't know. I want to know what his deal is. Like, I kind of get like the mother is just like this crazy person who believes in her like rights and whatever. She's like, oh, my bloodline, I want to be powerful. But like, I don't fully understand why he is as loyal as he is. I don't know. I don't get it. Okay, yeah, so, but okay, I know I'm missing stuff from the end. Like, a lot of stuff happened in the end. I don't know though, right? It's hard to really talk about that because, like I said, a lot of the things that I'm questioning, I think we're gonna find out in the next one. Like, a bunch of people showed up. I was super disappointed though that Bree didn't utilize her powers. Like basically when all of that was happening, I was all like, okay, so this guy who wasn't a bad guy gets beat up by the plants, but this person who actually is a bad person, she's allowed to get all the way down to the heart without any of the plants being an issue. And they left the mom outside. Like, I was all like, this is your opportunity to use your powers. And like, we never needed to get back to that apothecary and have any of that stuff go down. Like, none of that had to happen. Oh, okay. Okay, that's what you're saying. That might make more sense, maybe. Although I feel like I don't actually remember where Medea's son to actually like lined up in the story, because I thought it was her, and was it her like brother or whatever, the person who the heart, so all of the hearts were broken into all of the pieces. Was that her son that was related to? Because I know that you have to do all of that, and then with that they'd be able to do the mom thing, so it's kind of like a both as far as I'm aware. But I actually don't remember how that person whose heart made the plants, I don't know how that person is connected to Medea. I forgot. I remember it kind of being family-ish, but I thought it was like a brother, but I guess it could be a son. See, that's why I wanted to make sure that I didn't read this too far from the actual live show, because I am somebody who remembers concepts, not details. Okay, it was her brother. Yeah, well then I don't remember where the son fit in. So if that was her brother that the whole story was connected and the hearts were connected to, I don't actually remember the part. So I'm definitely gonna have to read this again before the next book. Well, I don't know if I'm gonna read the whole thing, but I'm gonna read the ending. The brother came to save her. These are all big parts, and I feel like I know what you guys are talking, but I also totally forgot so much of this. Way to go, Tatiana. Yeah, the poison heart is her brother's. Okay, so that's what I thought. That's what I was thinking. Because that was the big, and it was because he was doing some like messed up stuff at that point, and it was to like just stop him from whatever, and so they broke up the hearts, and then she was taking care of them, and the family was taking care of them. But I forgot that the brother was the one who saved. Nope. That face. It's because I'm missing crucial parts and I'm realizing it on stream. Okay, so I am super fascinated in the mythology aspect of all of this and kind of seeing where that goes. I definitely missed some of it, so I feel like I'm gonna for sure need to like reread the latter half, because I only did a double check for the beginning part and I didn't have time to make it to the end. So that's definitely, so like, I'm excited, you guys. I am so excited for the next ones. I hope you guys are as well. But yeah, I feel like we could probably talk for a while, but since I also am a little confused and I would like to double check some stuff, I'm don't know if I'm the most useful to continue at this point. And we are hitting the hour mark, so this is probably a good time to start wrapping this up anyway. I hope you guys had fun. I had a lot of fun talking with you guys. Thank you to everybody who read This Poison Heart, who's been hanging out on the Discord and talking in the club chat about it. I really appreciate you guys so much. This has been so much fun. I was so nervous to do this today, especially because I knew I was going to be doing it by myself. I was like, I know I have so much to talk about this book, but what if I, you know, like run out of things to say or like don't know how to say. So I appreciate you guys actually like talking to me in the chat and us having like this conversation and everything. So you guys are awesome. Thank you. Just a reminder that the February The February book is The Dating Plan by Sarah Desai. I'm actually going to be reading this like the first week of March because I am trying... Uh-oh, sorry. How can I decline? Okay, there we go. No, stop. Okay. So I'm going to be reading that next month because I try to read at least this year and last year, I'm trying to read exclusively Black authors in the month of February, just so that I can expand the books that I read and get more recommendations, because I know a lot of people ask like, oh, what are good books that aren't focused on Black trauma? And doing this helps me answer those questions because I know we need that. And then next month I'll do the live show for this one, the February book. So really excited about that. And then after that, we'll be doing Fat Chance Charlie Vega, which I actually heard might be a romance. I didn't know I did 2 romances back to back. But I'm excited about both of them. So hopefully you guys do enjoy them. I'm interested in seeing. And then I would love to know your thoughts in like the comment section or the chat section. These are some of the ideas that I think we're going to be doing for future books. For sure going to do Death of Vic OG because I know a lot of you guys have actually suggested this. So this is the club pick, possibly for April. And then I think I also really want to do Velvet Was the Night because then it's kind of a different type of book than what we've been doing. It's a little bit more thriller, murder, mystery, I think. So I think that might be fun. And I'm not sure about this one. I think this one's the one I'm questioning the most. So if you guys have any other suggestions instead of this one, or if you've read this and you know it should be a good pick, I would love to know because I would like to make sure to get picks that people are more interested in, because I know unfortunately the second pick that we have I don't think has as much interest as some of the other books, and I'd like to mostly focus on books that people are excited about, right? Because then we can have more chats like this and have more people involved and stuff like that. So big thank you. It does. Oh, okay. Salem says that Goodreads has a giveaway of an advanced copy of the next book. So for this poison, ooh, okay. If that's true, I need to go on there and see if I can sign up for that giveaway. Thank you for that information. And then thank you, Faithful Maths, for including my website. Yep, I do have my shop there for anybody who would like to get, I was going to say merch. Technically, it's not merch, just like art stuff. But I will, in the near future, once I officially announce the next books, I will have another planner sticker set for those books for anybody who is interested. And I will be giving those to my patrons the month that kind of happens. I don't know if that'll be next month. I don't know. I'm giving myself a little bit of leeway with all of that. But yeah, thank you so much, everybody. I really, really appreciate this. I feel like I'm dragging at this point, but it was a lot of fun hanging out, and I guess I will catch you guys in the next stream. Head on over to Discord so that we can chat books before the next live show. Otherwise, have a fantastic rest of your